Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions and Brave Kids Books, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out. This one is the second in the Brave Kids series, you guys. I'm so excited. It's called Brave Kids: Short Stories to Inspire Our Future World Changers. This is volume 2. And before I introduce these amazing authors to you today, just a humongous thanks goes out to our lead author, KJ Kashula. Kelly, you had such a big vision and mission with these books, and it is just coming alive in front of all of our eyes. It is magnificent, phenomenal, brilliant, genius is what this is. And I am just more and more and more excited to share these children's stories with the world, but also our experts who stepped up to say yes to sharing their stories. These are not your ordinary authors in these books, everybody. They are experts in their field, and they're sharing really amazing creative stories, all on very powerful, important themes. And so, without further ado, Dr. Heidi McAlpine is a holistic occupational therapist, podcaster, and owner of Align OT, providing creative and meaningful activities such as nature, poetry, and animals that guide and transition children, adolescents, and adults with mental health issues, trauma, and sensory differences. I have Meredith Spear here. She returns in Brave Kids Volume 2 and is the co-founder and COO of the Recovery Connection, where they deliver heart-centered care to all. And Susan Ernst is a commercial real estate appraiser and children's book author on a mission to support kids who are victims of or at risk of sex trafficking. She passionately supports Agape International Missions, a rescue center in Cambodia, and other world-changing organizations. All right, ladies. Heidi, you're up first. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
So my amazing chapter is chapter 7, and it is called Knocking It Out of the Park for children who work with sensory overload. And it's not just children, it's also adults, it's parents who've had sensory overload and have neurodiversity and are challenged now with a child who has the same type of challenges and barriers to overcome. So that chapter, it was my passion to share a tool that's simple and effective for them to use for themselves and to co-regulate with their child, to have healthy relationships and to be able to support each other throughout this lifetime.
Tell me a little bit more about the tool. What is it exactly?
So the tool is, there's a couple of little tips that I give within the chapter, and one is simple breathing techniques to help stop you in your tracks. And that's part of the 3 T's that I mentioned within that book. And it's take the time, take a moment to be in the space and recognize and become aware of where you're at, not only mentally, but also physically. What is your body experiencing through that moment in time? And the simple tool is a breathing technique called the Lazy 8 technique or figure 8. It's worded differently, but you can find that on YouTube. And in this chapter in story form, through the character and what they go through when they transition in different stages of life and different parts of their daily living. And then another one is just some deep pressure. And there's a big word that I use, proprioceptive input, but I don't want you to get afraid of that word. Really what it is giving pressure and input to the joints and the muscles to calm the body and to be in a moment ready to learn.
So you guys, this is what I love so much about these stories is Heidi, as an example, putting her expertise into the story to help us practice. And body awareness is something she's talking about here, which is a profound, phenomenal way to gosh, to path to almost anything you want, right? Awareness is a big topic, but body awareness specifically, Heidi, is one of my absolute favorite ways to talk about healing. What else do you want to tell us about that body awareness?
So, people think we just have five senses. We actually have eight senses. Interoception is one of those senses, and it's our ability to create a sense of awareness of what our body is experiencing. So, it's understanding where we're at in that moment and being able to process that information, because a lot of times we're experiencing it, but we're not processing it in a way that is proactive. It becomes more reactive. We're reacting to a situation, we're reacting to a trigger from maybe our past experiences, but what we're going through in the moment and not even realizing it until you gain more body awareness and what your body's going through. And they call it more a bottom up approach. So you're really becoming aware of what your experience is physiologically. And once you can identify that, then you can work with that from a top down, a more cognitive, a more processing that information so that it helps benefit you to the best of your ability.
Thank you, Heidi. So now y'all have a little bit of a taste of what's behind these beautiful stories, and you're going to learn about our authors from the book. You're going to be able to connect and, carry on these conversations, which is a huge gift. Heidi, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
Meredith, are you ready to tell us about your chapter?
I sure am. And thank you so much. Shout out to you, Laura, and of course, our lead author, Kelly, and Brave Healer Productions, because without you all, none of this would be possible. So I'm grateful to be a part of. My short story is chapter 6, and the title is Caroline, the Queen of Recess, Finds Her Voice. My daughter's name is Caroline. She's a 10-year-old, beautiful, sassy, smart girl, and she still thinks it's cool, at least right now, for her to be the lead character in both of my short stories thus far. So I'm not sure if that will always be the case, but for now, she is a fan and honored to be the main character in my story. And really, it's all about how a 10-year-old on the playground can both fit in and stand out at the same time, right? We all know that bullying is an issue these days, and Caroline faces some challenges on the playground with some mean girls who bully and tease and call her names, call her and her friend names. And she learns how to use that voice, when to use that voice, and truly become the queen of recess.
It's awesome. Okay, listen, that voice topic, I think, is another extremely profound topic because I know if I had practiced that a little sooner in my life, things would have definitely been different. But this is why this story is in the Brave Kids book because it takes so much courage, and I loved the way that you wrote about it so brilliantly and helped us into that scene of how she used her voice. What else do you want to tell us about the voice specifically?
I agree wholeheartedly with what you just shared, right? As a leader in a co-founder in an organization, it took me a long time to find my voice. I didn't have my voice at 10 years old on the playground with the mean girls. So in the story, Caroline comes home from school one day after a really tough day with the girls on the playground and opens up to her mother and talks about, Mom, how do I do this? Should I do this? How do I do this? When do I do this? And then, through opening the doors to conversations, she found the support that she needed. And then the next day was able to walk out to the playground, and, one of her friends was being bullied and teased, and Caroline stood up for her friend. But I think we have to be willing to open doors to conversations about how do we use our voice, because I don't think it comes naturally, especially as a woman, right? It doesn't come naturally to me, and we have to learn how and when to use our voice.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, you have my mind going in all directions with helping with the conversations because, in school, at home, in other places that we are in community with each other, what a great thing it would be if those conversations were happening and were more normal so that we could all get each other's ideas about, how you do this because there's a very visceral feeling in the body of fear for a lot of people when it comes to sharing. And you all know we're not just talking about kids here, we're talking about adults also. And then back to what we were talking about with body awareness with Heidi, you have to practice understanding, feeling the feeling, and then taking action from there. But oh my gosh, Meredith, thank you so much for writing about that topic and allowing kids to have a fun way to actually start that conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Susan, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My story is chapter 2, Jasmine Saves the Day. This is a little girl that lives in Cambodia with her family on an old decrepit pole house on the Mekong River. They are very, very poor, and they rely on their father's catch of fish every day to survive. And big trouble happens when his boat becomes stranded on treacherous rocks in the middle of the river. And in order to help, Jasmine has to overcome her fear of what lies below those murky waters. And with the help of a very mysterious talking monkey, she learns about one of the tools, probably one of the most important tools she has in facing her fears, and that is trusting her instincts.
I love this topic so much because whether it's you can't see below the surface of the water or you're afraid to fill in the blank, trusting your gut, trusting your instincts is one of those things. I know it took me a while to get into adulthood to sort of figure out even what that meant. So same thing here. I love having these kinds of conversations, giving kids the opportunity to talk about what that even means. How was it for you over your lifetime in terms of building that skill for yourself?
Well, I think I actually started to build it in a big way serving in Cambodia. Being in Cambodia, serving children who had been rescued from sex trafficking or had been at risk and saved from sex trafficking, this was not a time for me to not be brave and to face all my fears. I was dealing with about 100 children each day. Every one of them suffers with PTSD. Every one of them has gone through some trauma, either their own or vicarious trauma. And for me, it was just so important to put my fears aside. And I came to Cambodia with a lot of fears. It was a strange, strange world to go to. Put it all aside and worked with these dear kids. And I wanted to write stories that would give them a reason to maybe smile and laugh and relax their little stomach muscles. They don't have anything to smile or laugh about in this particular rescue center other than being saved. And what I learned in researching the subject of sex trafficking was to find that it's in epidemic levels throughout the United States and all over the world for that matter. So I knew, even though I was donating these stories to the children in Cambodia, I was writing it and the two stories for all kids.
Definitely. I love hearing your stories from the trips you've taken and just learning about different ways that organizations are actually on the ground helping. And I know that for anyone listening who's interested, we're gonna have links and everything down below for that particular organization. Is there anything else you wanted to share about the organization that you went with?
I went to Cambodia 5 years in a row just prior to COVID with a group of 11 volunteers from 5 different churches in California. We were all friends and traveled together. It was each trip was a trip of a lifetime. It was so amazing to work with these heart-centered humans that all had the same goal, and that was to give kids hope and a reason to feel loved. And it was so interesting when we met Don and Bridget Brewster, the founders of Agape International Missions, which is located in a village just outside of Phnom Penh. The address is never published. It's behind a gated wall and very secretive, but for real important reasons. In fact, Don and Bridget live in Roseville, California when they're not in Cambodia. And they traveled to Cambodia one year, witnessed what was going on with the children and the pedophiles in that country, sold their home, sold everything they owned, moved to Phnom Penh, and built that rescue center. That was over 20 years ago, and they've never stopped. And now they've opened a new rescue center in South America.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all you do with them, for them, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
So, for all of you, one of the biggest ways I think we help our kids is to honor their emotions and give them the space to feel. Feeling is healing, and feeling is an awareness practice. So, one way that I practice awareness is through journaling. It gives me the space that I need to move through my thoughts and move those thoughts out of my head and onto the page, shift my energy in doing so. Meredith, what's one of your awareness practices that helps you in your day-to-day?
That's a great question. I'm in recovery from substance use disorder, and for many years, I did not allow myself to feel the feelings and the emotions. So I've really had to practice learning how to do that and finding what works for me. What has worked for me recently is yoga and meditation. I grew up an athlete in high school, and I remember for so long I said, "Oh, yoga doesn't work. I'm not going to try that." And from the first time that I actually tried it, don't knock it till you try it, right? The first time I tried it, I started to find that healing and have been actively practicing yoga as well as the meditation for about over 3 years now. And it just helps, especially the meditation piece, which comes at the end. It helps calm my mind, because I don't know about you ladies, but I'm guessing you all are the same. You know, during the day, it's go, go, go. I don't oftentimes take time to check in with myself to really truly understand how I'm feeling. And if I'm able to take, even if it's just 5 minutes of the day, to just be still and meditate, that has been really, really helpful for me. So I'm so grateful that I had the courage to try something new, because for a long time I wanted nothing to do with that. But that has really helped me get in touch with my feelings and my emotions.
I love it. Both very profound practices. You're also making me think of even just being in the body for exercise. You all could fill in the blank of what that favorite movement is for you. Well, yoga can be very still also, but you know, like just being in the body to experience movement in any exercise fashion is meditative, and it can be a powerful focus. Susan, what's your version? What's one awareness practice that you love that helps you?
Well, unlike Meredith, I have trouble sitting still, and I am not a good meditator. I really have a problem with that. But what I do love doing is walking. And so when I need to clear my mind and reset, it's getting out in nature. That is what I love more than anything. And for me, it's rather magical. Literally, I walk out the door, go down to the walking path nearby, and I'm in the trees, and the fragrance in the air changes, everything changes, and I can settle down. And someday maybe Meredith, you can help me to figure out why I cannot meditate properly.
Well, the secret I've been holding throughout this interview is that Susan Ernst is my mom. And now what I'll say is, you taught me that nature connection from a very young age, and it has stuck with me my entire life. I can smell the eucalyptus trees where we grew up in California. I can pull back that memory anytime I want. If I, for any reason, can't get out in nature, it's in here also. And you know, you all might understand the brain science of your brain and body don't know the difference whether you're in it or you're thinking you're in it. And so you can close your eyes and practice meditating yourself into that nature scene, you know, any moment. But Mom, thank you for getting us out in the dirt, in the creek, on the trails, on the grass hill, all of those, you know, beautiful places. That's such a profound, profound, rejuvenating thing, right? I think everyone here is probably like, yeah, nature, right? It's a thing for a lot of people. Heidi, what's one of yours?
Hard to say that there's one. Every day is a different day for me, and my nervous system is different every day. I agree with every one of the techniques that everyone mentioned. I love nature. I work with horses. I am a yoga practitioner, and I also practice mindfulness. Meditation is movement. So it's getting that, moving that energy and our nervous system to help balance our nervous system. So movement can be the movement of the pen on paper. Movement is getting your body out and being aware of each sense within the moment. So you talked about smelling the eucalyptus. That's, you know, just smelling is getting that movement out, releasing that energy in a different way. I like aromatherapy. I do use aromatherapy, whether it's with candles or essential oils. That's one thing different that I use that hasn't been said. But the sense of smell is so immediate than all the other senses. Within, I think the science is 10 seconds, your nervous system is already processing that through the amygdala and getting you out of the moment of wherever your head was. You're now focused on that smell, and whatever that creates for you, a sense of relaxation, or maybe you need to increase your energy level, so you're using lemongrass or something to stimulate you and up your nervous system. So I use aromatherapy with that, whether that's in nature or through something in a bottle. So that's what I utilize.
I love my essential oils. Typically, all I really have to say in any meeting is cinnamon buns, and it makes everybody go to a place of usually joy, you know, of the cinnamon buns. But yes, I love, love, love the scents, the sounds, anything that brings you into your senses, any one of them. I love all of your answers. I'll add breath work to this. We could sit here and we could name 100 things. I'll add music. They're just so, I guess the point for our listeners is grab onto one of those things and practice being here now in the beautiful moment that you have with whatever it is you're sensing. And that for me is meditation. It's the M word I don't like to say very often, because I can be meditating while I'm washing the dishes or even while I'm driving the car, right? And observing and feeling the steering wheel in my hands and all the things, right? It's just really about being present in your body and noticing what you notice. Okay. Last question for all of you, but probably the biggest, most awesome one. Susan, why is it important to help our kids be brave?
Oh, I think I recognized in talking to so many authors, which has been a gift in its own right, that we would acknowledge, some of us, especially at my age level, that we did not have the resources that are available today in many cases. And I just think it's so important that kids in today's world, which is really very challenging, need all the resources they can get. And if, you know, my one little story or our stories give some child a clue or a nugget that they can take forward and make their life a little bit easier, it's definitely worthwhile.
Yes. I listen to you all talk about this and I just want you to keep talking. And I'm just like, yes, 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 with an exclamation point. Heidi, how about you? Why is it important to help our kids be brave?
I think we mentioned it earlier, and I believe it was Susan. It's hope, giving somebody that little nugget of hope to expand their energy and their heart and their thinking beyond where they're at in the moment. To feel stuck is not fun. I've been there. And if there's one thing, one tool that someone could share to give that hope that makes them live life to their best, then so be it.
Yes. Thank you, Heidi. Meredith, what's your version of this?
Well, of course, I agree with both what Susan and Heidi had to share, but you know, life, especially nowadays, is very hard and very challenging. And I really, truly think the goal of this book, of course, is to instill hope, but to touch people's hearts. And I feel like if we're able to touch the hearts of the children, but not only just the children, also the parents and the folks that are involved in children's lives. If we're able to touch their hearts, we're able to inspire. And with that inspiration, hopefully we're able to change the world one kiddo or one parent at a time. So I really think it's about which it's been mentioned twice, that heart-centeredness. If we can touch their hearts, we can inspire.
I have this beautiful vision about these books of a parent, a teacher, a mentor, a big sister or brother, whoever it is, sitting there on the cushy couch with their kiddo and reading one of your beautiful stories. And I think that even just a few moments of slowing down to do that, and all of the things that are incorporated in just, can you think back to when you were read to, or when you were reading with your person, practicing reading? And I love that all of you, there's just so much gratitude, not just for saying yes to the project, but for putting your hearts in it like that and imagining those scenes like I am imagining, and really understanding the importance of it. Meredith, Susan, Heidi, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Oh,
So a quick special shout out to my mom for coming into my world and becoming a published author at this amazing, wise stage of your life, deciding to do that and take a chance and have the adventure of it. To have you in our Brave Kids books is an honor, and I'm so delighted and excited and grateful to you, and again to every single author who is making big energy with their love and attention to these stories. If you all heard something today that's making you curious, this is way more than a book. This is a generous community of brave souls who are there to carry on the conversation, answer a question, support you on your journey. So pop down into the show notes, because I have all of our authors hooked up with their websites and links, and you can connect with them. And then, of course, to our listeners, if you'd like to join our book launch party, that's going to be on March 8th, 12 noon Eastern. I'm going to gather with all of the Brave Kids Volume 2 authors, and we're going to be dropping some inspiration and wisdom for you. You're going to find some information below about the book launch party. And if you happen to be listening to this interview anytime after that date, well, that just means you can hop over to Amazon and grab your beautiful copy of this book. Lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.